ko ang ato bitong buo giyanag si DA o sa dihang giingnan.
Recording in progress.
Good morning, everyone. To formally begin our program, let us first seek divine guidance. I invite everyone to join us in a moment of prayer, followed by the singing of our national anthem and Yusuf hymn. Let us all pause and solemnity.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you today to praise and worship you and give you thanks for all the things you continue to provide for ourselves and our families. Father, we humbly ask for forgiveness for all the times we have offended you. Continue to guide and protect us, Lord. Bestow upon us your unending grace and healing, that we may in turn become instruments of gentleness and compassion to others. We ask all this in the name of your Son, our Lord Jesus Christ, with prayer and intercession of our Blessed Mother. Amen.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. اللهم إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اللهم اهدنا الصراط المستقيم اللهم وحد صفوفنا بين المسلمين والنصارى واللوماد إلى صراطك المستقيم اللهم امنحهم العيش بالأمن والسلامة والتنمية المستدامة في مدينة دافاو اللهم لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Amoy nen manama kami gimot talangon, manotod kakaroson no, si koykaw kami tokul talangon, way migtumpi totana, si koykaw kami bohoy tapongpianan talangon na maotaw, usako kapusuno, kana akong to pabulos koy, agbuyo koykaw, way bohoy kat pabor, kahalaan, kalinaw, taong kanami, no pag-ugpo, way kasapo ka koy, oyod kalambot. Kay puro tamana kakodin panubad way pagampo, kaupianan igboy no way kakoy kamimo no way kalaan ko lang.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Tanging pamantasan naming mahal, tampok ng timog Mindanao. Ang liwanag mo ay aming ilaw sa labas ng karunungan. Sipinan ang nasa iyong pangarap. Ang pag-asa at pag-ulan, dulong layat galaw. Nangangaman siyang lakas nitong bayan ngayon bukas. Pamantasan aming dakila, ibais ka ang dulong at tuwa. Ang pangalan mo'y ibabandila ng matanghal itong bansa. USDP pamantasan naming lihat, handog sa'yo'y puri at bulaklak. Ang pangalan mo ay itatanyag, bandila mo'y itataas. Ang pangalan mo ay itatanyag, USDP namin lihat.
Assalamualaikum. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the third Ilmu International Lecture Series in Applied Linguistics 2025. My name is Darlene B. Lames, and I am honored to be your host for today's event. This lecture series is proudly organized by the University of Southeastern Philippines College of Arts and Sciences in collaboration with the Institute of Languages and Creative Arts, the International Affairs Division, and the Language Student Society. Ilmu, derived from the Arabic word for knowledge, represents our commitment to fostering intellectual discourse and global collaboration in the field of applied linguistics. This quarterly lecture series provides a platform for scholars, educators, researchers, and students to engage with leading international experts, discuss current linguistic trends, and explore the dynamic intersections of language, education, and research. Today, we are honored to have distinguished speakers who will share their valuable insights, contributing to our collective understanding of linguistic studies and their impact on education, research, and language preservation. We are also privileged to have participants from across various institutions, all united by a shared passion for linguistics and academic excellence. Prepare to be inspired and enlightened as we embark on another enriching journey in the world of applied linguistics. Now, to officially open our event, let us hear the welcome address from Associate Professor Dr. Rodney C. Jubilado, Chair of the Humanities Division at the University of Hawaii at Hilo. Dr. Jubilado is a proud alumnus of the AB English program here at the University of Southeastern Philippines and also serves as an advisor of the Southeastern Philippines Journal of Research and Development. Let us warmly welcome Dr. Jubilado.
Thank you, Darlene. Can you guys hear me well? Yeah?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So let me say aloha to everyone here, especially to the hardworking students in the audience, including you, Darlene, and then those in the organizing committee. You guys remind me of my younger self when I was a BA English student at USEP many moons ago. I was a transferee from Mindanao State University and, of course, the nearby Ateneo. And thanks also to Young Bahagya Prof. Madia Sajid in Milan for sending me the invite at 3 a.m. Washington, D.C. time. And thank you, dear organizers, for having me here for the third Ilmu International Lecture Series on Applied Linguistics. As Darlene said, ilmu is the Arabic word for knowledge. And when I was a professor, a faculty at the Graduate School of Linguistics at the University of Malaya in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, where Al-Akad was my student, Dr. Al-Akad, the speaker, I like reading that huge arch at the entrance of the campus. It says, Ilmu Puncah Kamajuan. That's actually in Bahasa. In English, it means knowledge is a source of the progress. Any progress that you come to think of, national, personal, and anything like that. However, let me note this one, and for you guys, that knowledge starts from listening and participating. Just like the ilmu cannot exist without doing ikra, the Arabic word meaning read, the first word in the Quran. And so, therefore, to acquire knowledge, we must also read and apply such knowledge to gain wisdom. I strongly believe that everyone can learn from our selected esteemed speakers. Of course, I'm very proud to tell you Dr. Muhammad Al-Akad was my former graduate student in the master's and a doctor's program at the University of Malaya. And of course, we have Dr. Muhammad Al-Sagaf of Xiamen University of Malaysia. Treasure the knowledge, guys, that these wonderful scholars are going to share with you all. And most of all, apply such knowledge and see what it brings you in your quest within the purview of applied linguistics. And so from Washington, D.C., because it's 9 p.m. here, I'm not saying good night yet. I'll be watching. Aloha, and may you all be successful. And in Arabic, we say, Wabillahi tawfiq wal hidayah. Thank you.
Daghan kaayong salamat, Dr. Jubilado. We really like your gold, sir. And we truly appreciate your warm welcome and thoughtful insights. As the USEP alumnus and esteemed scholar, your presence today is truly an inspiration. Now, to uplift and inspire us further, let us welcome Associate Professor Dr. Nasireen Abdullah from University Technology Mara, Malaysia, as he delivers his inspirational message. Dr. Abdullah is not only a devoted advisor of the SPJRD, but also highly esteemed lecturer of Bahasa Melayu, guiding our third-year AB English students with expertise and dedication. Let us give him our utmost attention as we gain wisdom from his words.
Good morning. Am I audible? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I can hear you from here in America. Hello, Nasir.
Aloha.
Aloha.
All right. Thank you for having me today. Good morning, esteemed speakers, distinguished guests, and dear students. It is truly a privilege to address you all today, albeit virtually, in this significant gathering of minds at the third, this is already third, right? Ilmu International Lecture Series on Applied Linguistics. So while we may not be sharing the same physical space, we are united by a common purpose, the pursuit of knowledge, the exploration of language, and the shared commitment to fostering understanding of across cultures. Technology has made it possible for us to transcend borders, to connect in ways that past generations could only dream of. And today, as we come together on this platform, let us embrace this opportunity to engage, learn, and grow in ways that will have a lasting impact on our field and beyond. Language is more than a tool of communication. It is the heartbeat of our shared human experience. Through language, we express our thoughts, build relationships, and preserve our cultures. Today, as we delve into the complexities of translation, particularly in legal and religious contexts, we are reminded of the immense power of language holds in bridging societies and shaping worldwide. The ability to translate thoughts, ideas, and emotions across different linguistic and cultural frameworks is no small task. It requires not only technical skill but also deep cultural sensitivity and a genuine desire to connect with others. Each of you, as language scholars, researchers, and students, holds a unique position in the evaluation of linguistic understanding. Your passion for words, your commitment to clarity, and your curiosity about meaning contribute to a greater mission, the mission of fostering mutual understanding across different cultures, disciplines, and nations. Even as we engage in academic discussions, let us remember that the impact of our work is far-reaching. Our contributions to linguistics and translation shape policies, influence legal interpretations, and even provide access to sacred knowledge that has the power to transform lives. Let us take a moment to reflect on the significance of this pursuit. Every translated word is an act of connection. Every research paper written, every discussion held, and every debate engaged in brings us one closer to a world where knowledge is accessible to all. Linguistics is not just about syntax and semantics. It is about people. It is about communities and the identities we shape through language. Your dedication to this field means that you are shaping a future where knowledge is shared, where no language is left unheard, and where ideas move freely beyond borders. As you participate in today's discussions, I encourage you to embrace every challenge as an opportunity for growth. Ask bold questions, seek new perspectives, engage in dialogues that push the boundaries of conventional thought. The pursuit of knowledge is not a passive endeavor, it is an active commitment to lifelong learning. Even in a virtual setting, we have the power to make meaningful connections. Take advantage of the technology at our fingertips. Engage in the chat, ask questions, and share your insights. Your voice matters, and this platform is an opportunity for us to learn from one another in dynamic and meaningful ways. Above all, remember that the impact of your work extends far beyond the confines of academia. Linguists and translators have the power to change lives, whether through making legal systems more just, sacred texts more accessible, or everyday conversation more inclusive. Your role in society is invaluable. The words you choose, the messages you convey, and the ideas you share have the potential to break barriers, foster peace, and create a more inclusive world. I leave you with this thought. Language shapes reality. As you explore the intricacies of the applied linguistics, may you continue to be the architects of a more connected, informed, and compassionate world. Let this seminar inspire you to move forward with purpose, to contribute with passion, and to use language not only as a subject of study, but as a force for unity and transformation. Thank you, and may today's lectures spark new ideas, meaningful connections, and a renewed commitment to the beauty and power of language. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Abdullah. Sir, truly language shapes reality. Thank you for your enlightening message and for your continued support in academic research and linguistic studies. And now, to complete our preliminaries, we are honored to hear another inspirational message from Associate Professor Dr. Aurelio S. Agkawili from the University of Hawaii, Manawa, United States of America, and the Department Chair of Indo-Pacific Languages and Literatures, bringing with him a wealth of knowledge and expertise in language studies. A virtual round of applause, please.
I am grateful to the University of Southeastern Philippines, the Institute for Culture and the Arts, the university's research journal, and the Department of English for this invitation to give an inspirational talk for your ILMU's Conference on Translation. I wish to mention two people who have remained dear colleagues in this continuing commitment of doing work and for our various peoples all over the world. Please allow me to mention here Professor Syed Ingilan and Director Francis Rehinio. The fact that your university has continued to remain one of the leading lights in language and language studies, in studies on our indigenous lives, in creative writing, in translation and translation studies as areas of concern in the pursuit of education that matters, and it matters because it is liberatory as it is liberating, gives me so much joy. This joy has no name, and it is better like that, nameless, a nameless joy. Our work in translation and interpretation is never neutral. That belief that translation and interpretation are two distinct human, intellectual, and academic acts that do not deal with the political, economic, and cultural three state and societal apparatuses that, if we are not careful, can possess our mind and soul, reside in our head, and get to stay in our bodies and stay there as permanent residents, or in our case, in the United States, green card holders, has no bearing in reality. I am here, therefore, to warn you that your acts as translators and interpreters are as political as the politician around, as economic as the producers of goods and services, and as cultural as those who own the spaces of public information, including those who control and manage and dictate what we need to know. For translation and interpretation are always political, economic, and cultural. Those who say that translation and interpretation are plain linguistic acts are wrong. And I repeat, they are wrong, and we must warn them. Mahalo nui loa. Thank you so much. Daghang salamat to all of you, speakers and instructors, organizers and conference planners, and most of all, the participants. Kia ora.
Thank you, Dr. Agkawili, for that inspiring words. We truly appreciate your valuable insights you have shared with us today. Before we move forward, let's take a moment to appreciate the richness of culture and talent through a special cultural presentation brought to us by the AB English students. Let us immerse ourselves in the rich folklore of Mindanao through a mesmerizing shadow puppetry performance. Our talented third-year AB English students will bring to life the legend of Talikod Island, unveiling the captivating legend behind the Samal Island of Associate Professor Dr. Jabilado. Prepare to be enchanted as shadows tell a story of mystery, tradition, and wonder. Let's give them our full attention.
Kini nga istorya kay ako lamang madunggan, gumikan sa akong mga kaapuhan. Kasagarang ginapulong sa ako, pagdayon ng matuog. Kini usa ka istorya nga ginapasa-pasa kada henerasyon pinaagi sa mga pulong lamang nga magawas sa among mga baba. Nagkandaiyang bersyon ang mga tao sa niini nga istorya, pero kini ang among bersyon. Sa sinugdanan, adunay usa ka isla. Sa isla, adunay usa ka prinsesa nga ginganlang Tali. Ug usa ka simple nga ulitawo nga ginganlang Liukod. Naghinigugmaay silang kanunay apan ang amahan ni Prinsesa Tali dili uyon sa relasyon. Usa ka adlaw, ang amahan ni Tali mingduol sa iyang unika iha. Iha, undangin na inyong relasyon ni Liukod, kay dini siya para kanimo. May usa ka ulit-awo ako gagipili para sa imo. Usa siya ka ulit-awo na angay para sa usa ka prinsesa. Papa, dili ka makabuot sa kung kinsa ang pinili sa akong kasing-kasing. Miabot ang kagabion. Si Tali ug Liukod nagkita pag-usab. Mahal ko, dili mo sugod si Papa sa atong relasyon. Magul-anon nga sulti ni Tali sa iyang hinigugma. Shh, mahal ko. Akong istoryaw ng imong amahan. Puno sa determinasyon nga sulti ni Liukod. Dili ko muuyod sa imong gusto kay basit kuhaot kaniya sa ako Ilayo ta niya sa usag-usa. Dili na ko kaya, Liukod. Diha, nakadesisyon ang magtiayon nga magtaban. Bisan pa man wala miuyon ang amahan sa ilang relasyon, nagbilin si Tali ug usa ka sulat alang sa iyang hinigugmang amahan. Gamit ang bangka ni Tali, ilang gisubay ang kadagatan. Samtang sila nagabiyahe tunga sa kadagatan, at tunay makusog nga bagyo ang mingsugat kanila. Sayo sa kabuntagon, ming-adto sa baybay ang amahan ni Tali aron makita ang iyang unika iha. Apanalisang ang amahan naman makita nga wala ang bangka ni Tali sa baybay. Apan nakita sa amahan ang sulat gikan ka Tali. Abang ang akong anak ato pangitaod a prinsesa. Ug ilang gisusi pag-ayo ang kadagatan kung anaa bay presensya sa bangka ni Prinsesa Tali. Samtang sila nagapangita sa prinsesa, aduna sila'y nakita nga usa ka isla. Isla nga karon lamang nila nadiskubre. Ila kining gituol ug ilang nakita ang bangka sa prinsesa nga wala sa maayong kahimtang. Ug gitawag sa amahan ang iyang mga katawhan. Mga higala, akong nabati ang inyong kagul-anan. Milabay na ang pipila ka oras ug adlaw. Wala na to okiti ang prinsesa ug si Liukod. Wala gayud nila nakita ang magtiayon. Gihinganlan nila ang isla nga Talikod alang handumanan sa gugma nila tali ug lukod nga walay katapusan. Ang ubang bersyon gaingon nga ang prinsesa kay si Talikod. Pareho sa dagan sa istorya, siya nahigugma sa usa ka mangingisda lamang sa ilang isla. Nisupak siya sa iyang amahan, pero matud ani na bersyon, ipapadala siya sa usa ka isla ug gibawalan na mobalik pa isip silot kay nasaktan siya nga nakigtagbo sa iyang gihigugma. Didto sa isla gapaabot si Prinsesa Talikod sa iyang hinigugma, apan wala kini niabot. Ginganlan og Talikod ang isla alang handumanan sa iyang ugma nga walay katapusan, sa iyang pagkamatinud-anon ug alang usab sa iyang pagpaabot sa usa ka gugma nga wala na gayud mubalik.
What a breathtaking storytelling experience! The artistry and creativity behind that shadow puppetry were truly remarkable. Let's give our performers a well-deserved round of applause. Now let's step into the pages of history with a powerful performance inspired by one of the most iconic Filipino figures, General Luna. Our second-year AB English students have meticulously translated this compelling piece from Filipino to English, allowing us to experience its depth and passion in a new light. Witness the brilliance of their linguistic and theoretical skills as they bring history to life. Let's watch and be inspired.
Mr. President, this will take us nowhere. What we're arguing here, American forces are getting stronger. Let us not act now while they're few, even if we suffer some casualties. We can drive them out of Manila and take control of the Lutherans. We have control of the provinces. We have 40,000 men. There are only 5,000 Americans. We can easily drive them away from this country.
I have sent Arguelles and Buencamino as our peace commissioners to General Otis.
They are toying with us. The news says that they are expecting 7,000 armed troops to strengthen their forces.
See? General Luna is right. We must act as soon as possible. America is also an enemy of Spain. An enemy of my enemies is my ally. The Americans even fought the Spaniards in Cuba. Did they invade Cuba? No. They even helped the Cubans to kick out the Spaniards. We have nothing to fear. Just give us the chance to experience peace. Wow, Sisi.
No one prevails alone, Joven. Everyone who came before us gave their life for freedom.
If Spain is America's enemy, why haven't they joined us? Why are you stopping us from storming Intramuros? I agree with Mr. Lieutenant. I choose peace. You are blind! Instead of sitting here, we could be out there, gathering arms, digging trenches, training our men to fight. Do not believe the sweet words of the American. There's no room for blind in this cabinet. What about our businesses? If we fight, our economy will be in shambles. What are we going to feed our families? Business or freedom? Country or yourself? You choose! I know you. You were with the Spanish civil government. And when the things went bad for Spain, you changed camps. And now things are rough for us? You with the American flag? Enough! We all have our interests. We're only human. Huh? How can anyone talk of business when we're all slaves of our own country? I also love our country. Then they had us!
For now, America is our ally. They gave me their word in Hong Kong.
America will do anything to compete with other nations who want to colonize us.
Let us wait for the Treaty of Paris to be completed.
We have delegates in Paris. Or observant at least. You're like a virgin who believes in the love of a heart.
What a thought-provoking and moving interpretation of General Luna's story. The seamless translation and powerful delivery truly captured the essence of our history. A big round of applause to our talented performers for the General Luna story. And now let's move on to the next cultural presentation, which music has the power to transcend language. Another performance from the second year AB English students will showcase the beautifully with their creative English translation of SB19's heartfelt song, Mapa. This song, originally written in Filipino, expresses a deep gratitude and love for our parents. Get ready to experience its touching message in a whole new way. Let's enjoy this musical tribute.
I won't waste the only time we got, and I'll spend it with you. I'll be there where things don't matter, right by your side. Whoa. And everlastingly will always be here with me. I've got my mapa. Everywhere I'll be will be where it'll be good. Don't you worry now, close your eyes and take it slow. Oh, rest for now, lay it all on me. Don't you worry now, close your eyes and take it slow. Rest for now, lay it all on me. You have done so much more, take it all. Rest for now, lay it all on me. Rest for now, lay it on me.
That was truly moving. Their translation beautifully preserved the emotions and meaning behind Mapa, proving that music and language can bridge hearts. A big thank you to our talented AB English students for that wonderful showcase of creativity and linguistic artistry. If you enjoyed it, show some love by dropping a clapping reaction to our chat box. Now prepare to be inspired and enlightened as we embark to the first lecture session. To introduce our first speaker, may I call on Miss Jamaica Prado, an AB English language student.
Assalamu alaikum. Sabah al khair ya jami'in. It is my great pleasure to introduce our first speaker for our third Ilmu. He is an esteemed associate professor at Israel University in Gaza, Palestine, specializing in translation and interpreting studies and applied linguistics. He currently serves as a postdoctoral research fellow at the Hashim Sani Center for Palestine Studies, University of Malaya, Malaysia. With over 15 years of academic experience, he has been a keynote speaker and presenter at more than 40 international conferences and events. He has published numerous scientific papers and book chapters globally and serves on editorial boards and several scientific journals worldwide. In addition to his academic roles, our first speaker is the founder and CEO of the Asian Federation of Translators and Interpreters in Malaysia. His research interests include applied linguistics, translations, and Palestine studies. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Dr. Mohammed H. Alakad. A virtual applause, please. Dr. Alakad, please take it away.
Yeah, Assalamu alaikum everyone. Can you hear me?
Walaikum salam, sir. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, that's perfect. So,
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullah.
let me start. I'm trying to open the camera from this side. Hope you are doing well all. First of all, thank you so much, Young Berbahagia, Prof. Madia Sajid, and thank you so much for my former mentor, Professor Rodney Jubilado.
Salam Akad, salam.
Thank you so much. And I would like also to thank all the students here, the committee, the organizer for organizing such a wonderful and amazing webinar and amazing event. It's really fantastic, especially among the student community. So first of all, I'm going to start about talking briefly about legal translation, the challenges and the strategies of legal translation. So in terms of legal translation, everyone considered it's which a kind of authoritative language. Yes, indeed. So in order for legal translation to be a legal, it has some challenges and characteristics and also strategies for certain accuracy in order to maintain. So legal translation, as we all know, is one of the most complex and sensitive fields because it deals with laws, rights, and justice. So in terms of also a single mistake in the legal translation can change the meaning of contract or law ruling or what we call legal documents, leading to serious consequences. So for example, if there is a mistake in your birth certificate or there is a mistake in your certificate, you graduate certificate from the university. So this mistake will lead to severe consequences in your life. Since our audience here include a student from the Philippines and also some professors, what I'm going to include here, I am going to include some examples from Arabic, English, and also Tagalog legal terms alongside Arabic and English. So these examples are going to help us to understand the differences between these three languages. So as we mentioned, these are the characteristics of legal text. So it is also important that for the legal text, it's essential for the legal text for international contract, business agreements, and needed for immigration purposes, court cases, and diplomatic relation. Any mistake or mistranslation can lead to legal dispute and huge financial losses for such company or such entity. So what are the characteristics? We all hear about characteristics of legal language. So legal language is not a normal English language, whether it's an English system or Arabic system or Tagalog system. The way we formate, the way we write the legal text is a bit and totally different actually in terms of selecting the words, the vocabs, the form of the language itself. So one of the main characteristics is the accuracy and precision. Legal terms have, of course, a specific meaning that must be altered, must not be altered. For example, liability in legal English is different from everyday usage. And we are going to show some examples right now. Also, in terms of formal and technical language, in terms of the form of the language itself, Legal document follows strict formal structure and terminology. For example, whereas and the word hereinafter are common in many of the contract. Hereinafter, whereby, near, all these kind of fixed terms are common in any legal contract, but not in everyday language. Faithfulness to the source text, which is a must in legal language. A legal translation must stay true to the original document intended, and paraphrasing or loose translation can cause legal misinterpretation as well. So the fourth point in terms of characteristics, which is adherence to legal system. The way we are going to write, or the way we are writing legal text, it must adhere to the full context, or the full what we call holism of the legal system of that language. Different countries have different legal system. For example, in Islam we have Sharia law, and the Western countries, they have the common law. For example, also in Arabic we have the word talaq, which is divorce. This kind of word, sometimes when we change it to other words, for example, in English language, sometimes the word divorce in English does not carry the same entity or the same features which the word talaq mean. And also the word mahr in Arabic. For example, if two couples, or a boy and a girl, they want to, the boy, he want to propose a girl, he have to prepare a mahr. In Arabic we call a mahr. So which this kind of amount of money that the boy, he need to prepare to propose that lady. In English we have the same term. It's something similar to word mahr, but actually it does not carry the same meaning. Why does not carry the same meaning? Because in English, the English term of mahr is not exactly the same, which is dowry. D-O-W-R-Y. Dowry in English does not carry the same features of the word mahr. So because of that, most of the contract, when they translate it from Arabic into English, they have to keep the word mahr, or retranslate, or what we call transliterate the same word mahr to keep it. The same as the word talaq, they just transliterate it into English as talaq, T-A-L-A-Q. The same word as mahr, because the English or the Western word does not carry the same entity or the same complicated meaning of the word in Arabic. So in the Philippines has no divorce policy except under Muslims law. Also here we have some of these characteristics. We have the unambiguous and clear terminology. These are one of the main characteristics also for the legal text. It must be unambiguous, must be a very clear and straightforward language. So legal translation or legal language avoid vague terms, and also it kind of ensure a clarity in order for any person can read and can understand the text. In some cases there are some terms or legal terms, it need a kind of consultation with a lawyer or with some person who are having some expert in legal translation or legal contract. Example, a contract must define force majeure clear to avoid dispute. These kind of languages, of course, they have some kind of terms, sometimes jargon, which is very important sometimes to indicate to the legal terms or to the legal system. Use of Latin and traditional legal phrases. Some legal documents include Latin phrases. This is, of course, we have and we witnessed that. Pro bono, which is for free, and habeas corpus, which you shall have the body. So now we have some practical examples I prepared for you guys. So in terms also of features of the legal text itself, the legal text, it must have title, chapter, article, paragraph, and item. You can never see any contract without some of these features. This is the form of legal text. So any legal text, it must has these forms and these words or these phrases. In terms of vocabs, because we mentioned earlier, the legal language difference difference in terms of the system itself from the normal language. The legal language differ in two main features, which are the form and the vocabs. So we have two main points here. The form is different in terms of the title, the chapter, the article, the paragraph. We must have these forms in any legal document. And in terms of the vocabs, we are going to speak about it now. In terms of vocabs, in Arabic we say عدم السماح in the legal language, which is should not allow. The word should not or the word have not. In the normal English, we say should not. You should not go. You should not go. The student should not enter the class, or the student should not come here. Here in Arabic we say لا أسمح لك بحضور الجلسة. I will not allow you to attend this session. I will not allow you to attend this session. This is general English language. It's a kind of normal English language text. I will not allow you to attend this session. So the negation in the sentence here is I will not. The negation is not here, will not. Okay. If we are going to convert this normal English language into legal, it should be you may not attend this session. So you see the word will not, we converted it to may not, because the word may is a legal word actually. In terms of originality, it's an English word, of course, but in terms of the vocabs of the English language, may usually comes and attached with the legal text characteristics. So in the legal text we say you may not attend this session, which have exactly the same meaning. I will not allow you to attend this session, or you should not enter this session. This is the normal English, but in the legal, you may not attend this session. So in the normal English language, we have some other examples. You cannot attend this session, or you do not have the permission to attend this session. Also, we have here some other examples. All teachers must obligate to the emergency law. All teachers must obligate to the emergency law. This is general English language. So we have also the same example in general Tagalog language. So, ang lahat, ang guru-guru, kilanggaan, sumund, sa batas, banga, bang, mirihitsya. I hope I pronounce it correctly, guys. So here the word must in English language, it's already there because this is a kind of obligation in the general language. However, if we convert it into legal text, it will be all teachers shall obligate to the emergency law, because we cannot use must in the legal context. Must is replaced with shall. So all teachers shall obligate to the emergency law. And we have also here the same, also what we call example in Tagalog language. The next example, every Muslim must pray 5 times per day. This is the general English language. The legal form, every Muslim shall pray. So we change the word must into shall, because shall is the word that characterizes and having the feature and having more obligation in terms of the obligation manner. It has more obligation for the legal language to be used in the legal language. Here we have also some legal comparison between Arabic, English, and Tagalog. Hukum qada'i, which is a court ruling. Hukum and hukuman. It's similar to the Arabic word. I think it's there is a kind of loan word between Arabic and Tagalog. Waqf, which endowment. Donation, diuredia. Hindi, maaran ibagbi. I'm not sure what the word Hindi here means, but I think this whole sentence carrying and giving the same meaning of one word in English and Arabic, which is waqf, endowment. Talaq, divorce, which is could be or a loan word from English. Also, we have aqd, contract, وصية, testimony or will, ميراث, شهادة, قانون, عدالة, محكمة, توكيل, and جريمة. So we have this word and we have the English equivalence and Tagalog equivalence. So sometimes you can see some of the words copied from English to Arabic, and sometimes from Tagalog or from Arabic to Tagalog, and vice versa. So in terms of the challenges in legal translation, there are several challenges. First, linguistic differences, language system, the difference of language system between the languages itself. For example, if you are going to translate a document or a birth certificate from Arabic to Tagalog or from English to Tagalog, you cannot follow the same style in English because Tagalog language has a different legal style of translating the file or the document, and the system itself differs between English and Tagalog. So every language has its own system. So Arabic has a complex sentence structure, long and descriptive, whereas English is more concise and direct. Tagalog tend to allow or tend to follow subject verb object order, making direct translation difficult. Legal system between the languages, Arabic speaking countries follow Sharia, which is Islamic law, while the Philippines follows a mixed system of civil and common law. Example, marriage laws, divorce is allowed in most Arabic speaking country, but not in the Philippines except for Muslims under the code of Muslim personal laws. So here we can see some of the differences among the languages and among the culture of each language. Culture and religious challenges. Some Arabic legal terms have no direct English or Tagalog equivalence. For example, the word ghusl, which is ritual purification. The word ritual purification in English, which is ghusl in Arabic, does not have the same equivalence in Tagalog. So they have to use the word ghusl as it is in the Arabic language. So what are the strategies for effective legal translation? If you are going to translate a legal document or a legal context from language A to language B, first use a specialized legal dictionary and the glossaries, and nowadays with the advanced technology and AI, I think it's quite easier comparing to the previous times. For example, Al-Mawrid Legal Dictionary, Black Law Dictionary, and there are many others. Understand the legal context, not just words. Word for word translation can distort the legal meaning, of course. For example, the word good faith in English, this is the meaning of good faith, but in Arabic, the meaning is husn niyya in Arabic, which sometimes the word good faith in English does not carry the same characteristics of this word or of this phrase. Avoid literal translation when needed. For example, عقد العمل بين الشركة والموظف يجب أن يتضمن شروطا واضحة وعادلة, which is the employment contract between the company and the employee must include clear and fair conditions. Also, we have the Tagalog example here. So, number 4 points, which is quite important also, consult legal expert when necessary. So when you are going to translate a document, yes, you can translate it using some of the dictionaries, online dictionaries, and also you can use some assistance in terms of accuracy from a ChatGPT or whatever AI tools, but at the end, you have to consult with a legal expert. Whether you ask him or send him the document just to check or to proofread your translation, whether it's correct or not. Try translating these sentences. So we have الشهادة القانونية الضرورية في المحكمة لضمان العدالة. So legal testimony is necessary in court to ensure justice. So the possible translation in Tagalog is ang legal na batuto to the end, which I think it's a bit difficult for me to read it, but I have to admit that I have to learn Tagalog. So here we end the session, and I believe you might be able to capture some of these words and understand these examples that I mentioned. So at the end, a kind of important note to mention: a legal translation is more than just word-for-word translation. It requires actually legal knowledge, linguistic expertise, and cultural awareness. So by understanding what we have mentioned just now on some of these examples, I hope you would be able to understand the differences between the legal and the general language, between English, Arabic, Tagalog systems, because everyone has its own system and its own characteristics. We can ensure accurate and effective translation. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you also for inviting me to present this piece of information and knowledge to all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Alakad, for sharing your expertise and shedding light on the complexities of legal translation. And now we open the floor for questions. If you have any queries, please drop them in the Zoom chat or use the raise hand feature to be recognized. Okay. Again, you can drop your questions in the Zoom chat or use the raise hand feature to be recognized. So we have now the question from Sir Carl Pimplado. So given the rise of AI and machine translation tools, how do you see their role in legal translation? Can they reliably handle the nuances of legal terminology and jurisdiction-specific conventions, or should human translators remain indispensable in this field?
Yes, it's a very interesting and very informative question. It's timely. However, what I can see from my experience, using AI translation or AI software website for a legal translation is still lagging behind. Until now, there is no any evidence that AI managed to translate any legal text. And me personally, I tested several times with some of the legal documents. Unfortunately, most of the translation in terms of AI, it's just a mere hallucination. No any clear translation. And I should actually urge all of you to use AI for daily works, for daily improvement, for daily exercises, for everything. However, avoid using it for certain sensitive languages like a legal translation, religious translation, medical translation. In terms of translating any of these languages or any of these characteristics of languages, it's a bit hard and untrustworthy to use AI, because most of the words he's going to give you, actually it's hallucination, and it's going to spoil your reputation if you are going to use this translation for any company or for any friend or whatever. The translation itself is 100% not accurate. I tested several times, but for daily translation, for general English translation, yes, the percentage we can gauge, it's around 85 to 90%, which is quite impressive comparing to the previous machine translation like Google Translate or whatever. So nowadays, there are some translation website emerged and powered by AI, yes, they provide a very good and a vital translation. The percentage could reach 85 to 90%. Yes, we admit that, but still there are some percentage of non-accuracy, and also some percentage of mistakes still exist therein.
Thank you, Dr. Alakad, for that insightful answer, sir. So now let's move on to our second question from Miss Julian Lomarda. So you can unmute your microphone.
Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Alakad, for that very insightful discussion. Since you've mentioned about the challenges of legal translation, as an expert of legal translation, what are some of the ethical dilemmas you have faced in legal translation?
Again, I couldn't hear you clearly.
I apologize. What are some of the ethical dilemmas you have faced in legal translation?
You mean ethical dilemmas in terms of using AI? Because I'm not using, and I do not recommend anyone to use AI for legal translation. You can use it for any text, other text, but for legal, no, I do not recommend. But if you mean the ethical dilemmas for translation in general, yes, you can use AI for translation. You can use it for a translation, but at the end, whenever you send the translation to your client or to whoever you want to send it to him, at the end, you have to mention, I have used this or some parts of this text generated by AI, whether in terms of language correction, in terms of style, in terms of paraphrasing itself. Yes, you have to admit that. Because nowadays, I think it's not a bit difficult for everyone to trace you, whether you use the ChatGPT or whether you use AI or not. It's very simple. Just by one click on certain website, he can give a full report from where you generated or from where you came up with this text. So it's quite simple and easy. But in order to save your face and to save your reputation, better to declare that, and also it's an ethical way. This is the correct and the ethical way to declare or to clear from where you got this text. Is it your own thought, your own ideas, or you just paraphrase it, or you generated by AI assistant? So it is very important, and I urge all students to do that because it's a kind of a trust. It's amana.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Thank
my
you
pleasure.
so much, Dr. Alakad, for that insightful answer. Now let's move on to our third question from Miss Ashley Jane Insel. Ma'am, if you can open your camera and microphone, please take
Hello.
All
Good
right.
morning, Mr.
Here.
Professor Al-Akkad. So, you have mentioned earlier that some Arabic legal terms have no direct English or Tagalog equivalents, requiring them to be retained in Arabic. But how can these approach maintain legal accuracy while ensuring comprehension for English or Filipino speakers unfamiliar with these words? And could the use of untranslated Arabic legal terms in legal documents lead to misinterpretations in non-Arabic legal system? And if so, how can this be mitigated, po? Thank you.
Okay, very interesting. Thank you, Ashley. Very nice and timely question. Okay, in terms of untranslatability or untranslated legal terms or legal words, yes, we have faced several cases of such a thing. The most applicable method we are using is a transliteration. We just transliterate this name. For example, if you are going to translate a company brochure from Tagalog, from Filipino, from Tagalog language into English, and the first sentence you will see the logo and the name of the company. Are you going to translate the name of the company, for example, the name from Tagalog into English? So let me reply to you. If you are going to translate the name or the logo of that company from English or from Tagalog into English, this is totally wrong. This is not a translation, because you are not going to translate the name. If you translate the name in the other languages, the name may carry totally different meaning. And this is the logo. For example, the word Pepsi, the word Coca-Cola, we cannot translate it. And there are some other companies' name. We cannot translate it into our language, because if we translate it into our language, it may lose its reputation and lose its meaning itself. So the connection between the original entity and the translated one will be lost. So better not to translate it. And we as a translator community, we understand this, and we have some guideline for translation. So for such logos, we cannot translate into other languages. We just keep it. This is exactly the same with some of the legal terms, whether in Arabic or Tagalog or other languages. There are some words we cannot translate, because if we translate, it will have a totally different meaning. For example, I have also some concern about the translating the word Allah, the word God. The word God in English or a Christian, it has a different meaning. For the English people, the word God, it means their own God. So they will understand it as their own God, what they worship and what they believe. For the Christian, the God is Jesus. So for the Hindus, the God is Buddha. For the Muslim, the God is Allah. So if we are going to translate the word God in the Quran, it have a different meaning. For every culture, they will understand it the same as their own God, which is not correct. This is totally wrong. The word God, it's the word Allah, it means Allah. It doesn't mean God, because the word God has totally different meaning according to other culture and according to other language system. So the best way is to transliterate it. Allah, A-L-L-A-H. This is the correct way. For example, there are some other words like the word divorce, the word dowry, the word mahar. There are many other words. If we translate this word into English, it will have a totally different meaning. For example, also another short example, just to make it clear. The word dowry in English, or in a Christian in the English language, let's say, the word dowry here, it means the woman or the girl, she has to bring some kind of gift to the husband during the time of a proposition, which is totally wrong or against the Islamic culture. The word mahar in Arabic, it means the man or the husband who is proposing, he has to bring an amount of money and give it to the lady during the time of a proposition, not after, not before. So there are some different understanding between the word dowry and the word mahar. So if you are a Muslim and you are going to translate a contract from a Muslim person, from English into Arabic or from Arabic into English, so you have to work to retranslate or transliterate the word mahar into English, M-A-H-R, not to use the word dowry, because the word dowry in the Western, if they read this contract, they will understand the word dowry as the mahar in the Western community, which is not. The woman did not give him anything. He gave the woman, because this is his right. This is what Islam mentioned. So there is a kind of misunderstanding in terms of translating certain word and certain vocab. What we are doing as a translator, we just transliterate these words into the other language, whether English, whether Tagalog, whatever the language they are going to translate. We just keep the same word and transliterate it. Sometime, even in the Quran, in the copy of the Quran, you can see some other words not translated, so it's actually transliterated. So they keep the same word, they transliterate it into English using the English or the Latin characteristics, Latin characters, but at the footnote down at the book, they interpret it. They give a clear explanation. What is the meaning of this word? What is the meaning of this sentence? So this is the correct way of translating a document in order to have the highest level of accuracy and to have the same trustworthy word from the source text to the target text. Because you are the translator, you are the person who is responsible for the accuracy, you are the person who is responsible for any mistranslation in the text itself. So you have to follow the ethics and you have to translate the language correctly.
Thank you, sir, for answering my question.
Yep, my pleasure. No worries.
Thank you, Dr. Alakad, for that insightful explanation. Sir, we have here insight in the chat box from Ma'am Jahaira Sulaiman. So she said there are cultural terms in Maranao that cannot be exactly translated into Tagalog, English, and Arabic. As someone who writes about culture, I have problems translating many terms. She also added that AI still has a long way to go in that respect, for many languages are not widely translated. So, Ma'am Jahara, would you like to add or ask questions to Dr. Alakad? Good morning, ma'am. You may turn on your camera and your microphone.
Hello, am I visible here?
Ma'am, we can hear you po, loud and clear.
Okay, my question, no? Will the same strategies regarding translation?
Again, ma'am.
Okay, will the same strategies for legal translation that you have mentioned a while ago?
You mean will that the strategies will be used for cultural languages? Again, ma'am, you mean will the same strategies that I mentioned will be used in writing about culture? Is this what you mean?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes.
Question, sir, asked that will the same strategy be used in writing about culture?
Yes, perfect. Some parts of the strategies can be used and are applicable to be used for culture translation or translation culture word. Yes, correct. But not all of it. For example, you have to specialize, you have to consult specialized culture dictionaries and understand the culture between the languages. For example, also another important example I need to mention. Not every language, not every student or not every speaker of the other languages are able to be a good translator, meaning that not everyone speaking two languages is a good translator. For example, you are speaking English and Tagalog. Can you be a good translator? Of course not. There are some people speaking many languages. Can they be a good translator? Of course not. Why? Because in order to be a good translator, you have to master not only two languages, but you have to master two culture. You have to master the culture of these two languages. Whenever you master these cultures, same as your native language, then you can be a good translator. You are capable to be a good translator if you master these languages and this culture, not only the language itself. So, in order to have the strategies for culture translation or translating culture, yes, some of these strategies, as I mentioned, are applicable. And also one more interesting point, which is adaptation. For the culture translation, we have to adapt the term and the language of that culture. Meaning that if we are going to translate a file or a culture text from English to Tagalog or from Tagalog to English, we have to follow the same culture, the same Tagalog culture in translating the English file. For example, if the file is about dragon and whatever, something about the culture, the Filipino culture. So this expresses a fulfilled and a very intense culture in the Filipino culture. It's already explained in the text itself. But if we are going to translate literally using literal language, it will lose most of these features. So we have to adopt the language. We have to adopt this style and copy it into the other language that we are going to translate into. So the word or the approach of translating culture terms, we have to use the adoption strategy in order to adopt some of these words, some of these culture terms that will follow under adaptation of the culture. You have to adapt your terms and your culture with the language that you are going to translate into, which is very interesting and very faithful. Otherwise, you will lose a lot of language nonsense. You will lose a lot of characteristics of the main language that you are going to translate from and into.
Thank you, Dr. Alaka. That was a very informative explanation. So as much as we love seeing so many insightful and thought-provoking questions from all of you, your curiosity and engagement truly make the discussion even more meaningful. However, due to time constraints, we will only be able to entertain one last question. However, if you still have queries, don't worry, you can still send them to our chat box, and maybe our lecturer may respond during the event. Now, for our final question, we have Ma'am Sumaya Tambuko. So her questions, I just wanted to know, in your experience, are there specific legal sectors, for example, contract law, family law, that present more challenges in translation than others? So again, Mom Samaya's question, I just wanted to know, in your experience, are there specific legal sectors, contract law, family law, that present more challenges in translation than others?
Oh, yes, exactly. Yes, that's correct. In terms of legal contract and legal terms, legal contract, it's a bit challenging comparing to other legal forms. And also, we can find, based on my experience for almost 16 years in the field of translation and conference interpretation, I can see the most challenges I faced personally and many of my peers face in translation, especially for legal terms and legal document, is the forensic report, guys. For translating forensic reports, which is include medical and legal information, medical and legal statement in the same report, it's really difficult. Translating forensic report, whether it include some information about the corpus and what they have to look for, evidences, testimonies. It includes both legal and medical terms, which is really difficult. And I think even in the next 5 years, ChatGPT even won't be able to translate such a document, because we, as a human, we face a lot of challenges, and we have to consult several experts. We have to consult several dictionaries in order to translate certain piece of information in that forensic report. So I don't think with the huge advancement in AI, it will be able to handle that. And the case itself is not the translation, it's also the consequences of any mistranslation or any mistake in the translation, the consequences will be really catastrophic. So I don't think many of the countries I don't think any of the countries or any of the legal entities, legal bodies will jeopardize their reputation to give such a piece of confidential and precious text to ChatGPT to translate it.
Thank you, Dr. Alaka. That was an incredibly engaging discussion. We sincerely appreciate your time, expertise, and thoughtful responses to our students' inquiries. Your insights have given us a deeper understanding of the complexities and nuances of legal translation. We also want to thank our students for and teachers for their well-crafted questions, which have truly enriched today's session. Let's give Dr. Alakad and ourselves a virtual round of applause. Feel free to drop a clapping reaction in the chat box. We look forward to more insightful discussions ahead. As a token of our appreciation, we would like to present a certificate of recognition to Dr. Muhammad H. Alakad for his invaluable contribution to this lecture series. We kindly ask Dr. Alakad to stay on screen as we present the certificate virtually. Allow me to read the citation. Republic of the Philippines, University of Southeastern Philippines, Davao City. Certificate of recognition is given to Dr. Muhammad H. Alakad, University, Malaya, Malaysia, for his sharing his time and expertise as resource speaker on the topic translation of legal texts during the third Ilmu International Lecture Series on Applied Linguistics held on March 28, 2025 via Zoom, issued on the 20th day of March 2025, USAP, Davao City, Philippines. Signed Francis N. Reginio, ILCA Head, and Sajid S. Ingilan, Program Head. To officially commemorate this moment, we will now have a photo opportunity. We invite everyone to turn on their cameras and flash their best smiles. Our technical team will take the screenshot. Again, we are encouraging everyone to open their cameras and flash your best smiles. Our technical team will take the screenshot in 3, 2, 1. Once again, thank you, Dr. Alakad, for being with us today. Let us give him a virtual round of applause.
Thank you so much for allowing me to present this piece of information and to share my own experience with you all. Thank you so much.
Daghan kaayong salamat, sir. So before we move to our next lecture, let's take a quick break with a fun and interactive activity. To lead us in this exciting segment, we have Miss Althea Mapula and Miss Sarah Gwen Huntukan, AB English students.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Before we dive deeper into today's session, let's start with a quick and fun icebreaker to warm us up. We're going to play trivia games, but with a twist of scrambled words. We are going to show trivia questions with hints of scrambled words. And to show that you are ready, please hit the heart button on our Zoom. To those our audiences who want to answer, please drop your answers on the chat box or freely unmute yourself. For the first trivia question, we have: which ancient legal code written in Babylonian cuneiform was one of the earliest to be translated into other languages? Again, which ancient legal code written in Babylonian cuneiform was one of the earliest to be translated into other languages? All right, the correct answer is Code of Hammurabi. Congratulations, Miss Prizapil. For our next trivia question, we have: Which famous legal document originally written in Latin in 1215 has been translated into many languages and influenced modern democratic systems? All right. I saw a lot of correct answers here. The correct answer is Magna Carta. Congratulations, everyone. Next, for our third trivia question, we have what is the name of the official translation of legal documents in nations, ensuring consistency and accuracy in international law? Everyone, drop your answers. All right. The correct answer is certified translation. Congratulations, everyone.
Now for our next question. Which religious text central to Islam is traditionally considered untranslatable, with translation viewed only as interpretations? Okay, the correct answer is Quran. Thank you so much. Next, we have which 16th century translator was executed for translating the Bible. Again, which 16th century translator was executed for translating the Bible into English and making it acceptable to common people? Okay, the correct answer is William Tyndale. Congratulations. Now, last but not the least, the King James Version of the Bible, first published in 1611, was authorized by which English monarch? Again, the King James Version of the Bible, first published in 1611, was authorized by which English monarch? Okay, the correct answer is King James I. Thank you so much for participating. Now, let us give the floor back to our dear host.
That was such an exciting and engaging activity. A big thank you to Miss Altea Mapula and Miss Sarah Gwen Huntukan for leading us in that fun-filled trivia game. And of course, congratulations to our quick thinking participants. Now that we are re-energized, let's dive back into our lecture series. Up next, we have another insightful session that will further expand our understanding of applied linguistics. Moving on to our second lecture, I now invite Miss Kate Marie S. Italia, an AB English language student and a newly crowned Miss Casadia 2025, to introduce our next speaker.
Good morning, everyone. So, our next theme speaker is an assistant professor at Shaman University, Malaysia, specializing in translation and linguistics. With a passion for understanding the role of translated discourse in the intricacies of language, communication, conceptualization, and beliefs, he has contributed significantly to the field through various publications and presentations. Besides that, he also has an extensive experience of over 2 decades in translation and interpretation. He earned his PhD in English Language Studies in Translation and Cognitive Linguistics from the National University of Malaysia, where his research focused on the conceptual metaphors in English translations of the Quran, comparing its discourse with English translations of other religious books. Currently, he is involved in 2 major research projects and is the main editor for a book project. His dedication to advancing the understanding of translation discourse continues to inspire students and colleagues. Ladies and gentlemen, we give the floor to Dr. Muhammad Ali Al-Sagaf.
Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you loud and clear.
Am I audible to you?
Yes, sir, we can hear you loud and clear.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much for allowing me to share some of these ideas that are popping up on my mind. And a very good morning after Assalamu alaikum to everyone, dear esteemed professors, teachers, and students. Special thanks to the University of Southeast Philippines, Institute of Languages and Creative Arts, with special thanks especially to Prof. Sajid. Well, this is a great opportunity for me to share some of these ideas, as I said. I was asked to prepare a lecture on translation of religious texts, but I would like to twist a little bit the theme of this so-called sharing session rather than calling it a lecture. So I would like to add a bit of spices to it. So I call it a call for critique. Because delving into translation of religious texts, it is far beyond dealing with the strategies and methods, processing. So rather than delving into the technicality of translating these religious texts, I would like to take it into a different direction where it can open up our minds to think in a different way about these religious texts, and especially their translations. So to help with the flow of this sharing session, I will have divided it into 4 parts. First, I will talk about the key concepts, and then I will try to show the connection between translation of religious texts and applied linguistics, since the majority of our students here are from applied linguistics and translation. And then we'll provide some case studies of translation of religious texts and showcase their connection to applied linguistics. And finally, we'll try to conclude with some recommendations. So bear with me. This is not going to be a lecture rather than a sharing of some ideas, right? So let's start. As we all know, when we talk about translation, we are talking about this kind of process that simply everybody knows of, transferring meaning, right? So we are transferring meaning from one language to another. But to get into a more specific understanding of translation, let's consult the experts, those who were in the field of translation as the authorities for all of us for years now. So for example, for Roman Jacobson refers to translation as interpretation. So the key word here is interpretation of verbal signs by means of some other language. Again, if we consult neither, then we get the phrase of closest natural equivalent, which I think all of you will agree with me, there is no such a thing exists between 2 languages. There might be some for an extent, but not exactly a natural equivalent. So neither uses the word closest. So it's not the typical one. It's just the closest. Every language has its own culture. And then for Catford, it's the replacement with the equivalent again. But what is common among all these academicians and all these experts is that the emphasis on the idea of proximity of transferring the meaning. So translation in general is transferring meaning from one language into another. And when we look into it from the perspective of academicians and experts, we see the feature of proximity is topping up the process. It is to ensure that whatever efforts you are making into translation, it will still be approximate translation, approximate transfer of meaning. So we cannot just call it a replacement as Catford would claim. We cannot say simply this is a replacement of a translation. So we are talking about translation in general so far. We've not yet talked about the translation of religious texts. We know the religious texts, they have their own characteristics. All right. So to understand it better, we go with the religious texts. And in terms of translation, when it comes to translation, we're not talking about religious text here from a religion perspective. We are looking at religious text from the viewpoint of translators. So religious texts are writings considered sacred or central to the beliefs and practices of religious tradition, and their translation involves not only linguistic transfer as per the general definition of translation, but also interpretation of doctrinal, cultural, historical meaning. And all these are to serve one purpose, that is to preserve the theological integrity in the target language. So bear in mind, and please reserve this, that the translation of religious text is done to serve or to preserve certain thing. So there is a purpose, there is a function, there is a goal, there's an aim. All right. Just like anything we do, there is an aim of doing it, there is a function of doing it. But we need to focus on this particular point when it comes to translating religious text for a reason. So those religious texts are translated to serve certain purpose. Okay. This is necessary for us to understand the following logic. That is the problem statement of my sharing session today, right? So we've seen that according to those experts and academicians, translation outcome would be proximity of language transfer with an intention to keep the neutrality of the translation. But is this happening? Is this reality? Is this what we see? Is this what we have? I'm not going to talk about the process again. I'm not going to talk about strategies. I'm not going to talk about the skills required for the translation. This is the process. I'm here to talk about the outcome, the product of the translation. And in particular, since I'm talking about the religious text, I'm talking about the translation of religious texts. So the outcome of these religious text translation. So here the problem comes from the many versions of translation for one religious text. When we talk about religious text, we talk about one source, right? Like in Islam, we have the Quran. In Christianity, we have the Bible, and in other religions, there is one source text. So, question is, why is it there are so many versions of translations? This is a big question. So far, just talking about the translations of the Quran, the so-called translation, I like the quote that you used here when you were presenting the unscramble me again. The last question was, what was the untranslatable text in Islam? And that is the Quran. That really is a relief for me. So it helped me a lot in easing my sharing session today. So I think and I believe that many of us agree that the Quran is untranslatable. So why it is untranslatable, and then there is over 100 different versions of translations. And these 100 different versions of translations are only in English, let alone other languages. There are many translations in other languages. So the question is, the source language is Arabic, the target language is English, yet we see over 100 different translations of the Noble Quran. This is a big problem. Where's proximity? Where's neutrality? So again, I'm not talking about the strategies, I'm not talking about the techniques of translation, the process of translation, but I'm here to share some ideas, some queries that are popping up in my mind. I've been in this field for over 2 decades, dealing with these issues of the so-called translations of the Quran. But then the question that I can't find an answer to is, why is it that we still have so many, a big number of translations of the Noble Quran? And the case is not only limited to Islam and to the the Noble Quran, it's also true to the other holy books like the Bible in Christianity and other religions. All right, again, this was not the aim of my session. We all agree that there is an endless debate of translation of religious texts in terms of translatability and untranslatability. But since you've already shared this during the fun time, the unscramble me activity that you shared, so that is a relief for me. Now, if this is not the case, we are not talking about the halal and haram, whether it is allowed, it's not allowed, or from just linguistic perspective, whether it is translatable or untranslatable, for the issues of equivalence, for the issues of different cultures, for the issues of many other things, terminologies, cognitive linguistic elements in both languages. Okay, let's not talk about this for the moment. I want to take you to a different direction. All right. So we want to see how to place the translation of religious text into applied linguistics. Well, according to Vermeer, the founder of the Scobos theory in translation, I quote here his exact words: each text is translated based on its intended function in the target culture. Meaning that translation is a purposeful activity. That means there is a goal. So what is the goal of these translations of the religious texts? So to better understand this, we need to look at a wider perspective. So let's consider religion and ideology as one of the purposes of the translation. So when there is a translation, there is an ideology. So this ideology has to do with what? It has to do with religion. So we have two things. We have religion and we have ideology. Some would say, oh, they are the same. But okay, let's see. Let's investigate further and see whether they are the same or they relate to one another. I've created this simple comparison just to show you the mapping, because I come from a cognitive linguistic background. We put high emphasis on mapping ideas from two domains. Just presuming that these are two different domains, religion and ideology, even though if we consider them as two separate domains, we come to a conclusion that they share the same thing at the very end. Okay, so as you see in this comparison, they end up with the central point of our discussion here, that in religion is expressed through sacred texts. So these sacred texts, quote unquote religious texts, is the way that religion is expressed through. In ideology, these are embedded in language and translation. So now we start to see the connection between the translation of religious texts, right, and ideology. So where can we see the presence of ideology and religion? Let's explore more. Religion is seen as a system of ideology. And this is also supported by Fairclough when he says, religious discourse is one of the clearest examples of ideology at work, as it naturalizes particular worldviews, legitimizes authority, and regulates behavior. So now we can see that religion can work as a system of ideology itself. And then also religion as a carrier of ideology. And this is very important. So these are expressed through ritual language, textual interpretation, and translation, all of which are ideological acts. So within these ritual languages, the textual interpretations and translations, we can see how these ideologies act. So it's very crucial for us to consider the connection between the translation of religious texts and the ideologies. Also, theological doctrines are ideological positions. What I mean by positions here is your stance from the theological doctrines. We know that in each religion, there are different ideologies. They all belong to the same religion, but they are following different ideologies, or in a more accurate terms, in different perspective or different view of the understanding of the religion, regardless of whatever religion they belong to. For example, here in Christianity, the Trinity isn't just a doctrine, it reflects a specific ontological view of God Himself and power. So when these are translated or taught or challenged, ideology is in play. Religious discourse is often taken as a natural order of things. This is the issue. This is the problem, as Van Dyck highlights. So I think now you started to see what I'm taking you to. So I'm taking you from the translation field of religious text and taking them into queries. So to query them, to question them, we need to find a tool. That tool coming from the field of applied linguistics. So I want to show you here the connection between translation of religious text and the CDA. Who doesn't know CDA, the critical discourse analysis? Because critical discourse analysis is a proper mechanism that can enable us to see whether a certain ideology is being reinforced or being challenged. You know, the three-dimensional method of critical discourse analysis. We start with the text, and then the discursive practices, and then the social practices. How does it function? All right. So for the text, we need to know the words. We need to know metaphor and cognitive meanings. We need to know if there is certain constructions or the structure of the language itself. So we need to investigate the text. And this is exactly what we have in the translation. We are dealing with text. But unfortunately, most of the focus is only given to the text itself, the translated text itself. But there are deeper questions, deeper things that we need to think of, that we need to understand and question. Not only to ask questions, but to question. And I emphasize on this. So how to question it? We need to go to the next levels. When we go through discursive practice, so we need to question. Discursive practice is the processes. How is it produced? How the text is produced? And particularly for translation, because this is going to reveal interesting findings. I don't want to use other words, but very interesting findings about the discursive practices that are involved in the production of the translation of the religious text. So if we question who produced the text and for what purpose, and if we question what are the intertextual references, intertextuality is the influence of a text by another text. And then how is meaning negotiated by readers or listeners? This is going to reveal very, very interesting results if we are serious in questioning the numerous number of translations of these religious texts. And not only that, we can even go further and examine the social practices of these translations of religious texts. So, for example, and this is important, this is the key here, what ideologies are reinforced or challenged? Because we know, all right, we follow religion. So in each religion, we have different ideologies following different sectarians, for example. And I'm sorry to highlight this one, but this is reality we cannot run away from. So sometimes it is the ideology that is being reinforced or challenged for a purpose, to serve that purpose. And how does the discourse relate to social change or stability? Perhaps sometimes a certain translation of religious text is produced to help bring about a new social change, or on the contrary, bring stability to the society. So that means we need to go and open up our minds further. Okay, another question. What institutions or power dynamics are involved? Because if we come to know, we know why we have these massive number of translations of these religious texts. So looking at those three layers or three dimensions of the CDA and how we can apply them to translation of religious text, this again it reinforces the importance of Scopus theory of translation into our discourse. I mean, our discourse of translated text, translated religious text. All right. I hope I'm not taking you into theory, but what I'm trying to do is to really open up our minds into some new way of thinking and consideration for the translation of this religious text. So to make the idea clearer, I'm going to share with you some case studies. All right. Some of these case studies on the translation of religious text and ideologies. The first one, I've just randomly selected these two. So the first one is the sectarian ideology in Bible translations. The focus of this study is on how sectarian beliefs shape translation choices in key doctrinal passages. This study was done in mid of 80s by Beekman and Callow. They involved or they compare 4 different translations of the Bible. Now, what is interesting about this study is that, okay, it has gone through the 3 layers, the 3 dimensions of CDA, and it has revealed that translations of sacred text, that we call the religious text, are not neutral. So this is the challenge again to the proximity and neutrality of the translation. Right? So translations as an outcome of their study here shows that translations of religious texts are not neutral. They are shaped by the theological practices and serve to sustain the ideological framework of religious institutions. Right? They have highlighted so many examples. I'm just going to share with you one. For example, in King James Version of the Bible here, it says, and the word was God. And if you look at the spelling of the word God, it is capitalized, right? But in the New Testament, the translation was a bit different. So we will see, now this is the text level. We will see later the discursive practices and the social practices that has impacted the translation itself. So in the New Testament, the translation is, and the word was God. So is. Yeah, sorry. All right. Okay. So in the second translation of the New Testament, we see alteration of the meaning or change or call it whatever. I mean, it's a different version. So this different version comes with no more capitalized God and preceded by the indefinite article a. So why is this done? This is to subtly reduces the word logos, divinity, alignment with Jehovah's Witnesses, or the rejection of the Trinity. And the examples are so many. So we will know the reasons behind these discrepancies in the translations when we question the discursive practices. When we understand that translators who did these translations operate within institutional constraints. For example, certain societies, the Catholic Church, the evangelical publishing houses. So we know that there are certain situations or discursive practices or procedures that are involved in the outcome, right? Editorial board, readers from each denomination or sectarian expect text to affirm their theological worldview, and so on. So there are many discursive practices behind this. And even if we take it further to the social practices, we can see more and more clarity of why is it so, and then we understand. I'll take, just to keep the session in balance, I would like also to share another case study from the Quran. So from the Quran, there's another similar study by Siddiq in 2015, where he traces the ideology of translating the Quran into English. CDA study of different translation cases across 20 different versions. So this study actually analyzes 6 ideological sensitive verses in the Quran And then he compares these translations across 20 English versions. The involved translations were 6 different translations. These are considered among the prominent so-called translations, which is another debate I don't want to go through. The idea of untranslatability is very obvious now, we can see with those evidences. So, but I'm not going to talk about that. So this is another case study where it shows also similar outcome, where it shows that Quranic translation is not a neutral act. Again, so the point of neutrality or proximity is absent here. And this raises a bigger question. So why at all? If every translation is done to serve a certain ideology, then where is the real meaning? Is it possible to get the real meaning through translation? This is the big question. Actually, from the religious point of view, there are decrees and decisions made by Al-Azhar in Egypt with a solution for that problem already, but that was not adopted. But this could be also attributed again to the discursive practices and the social practices, maybe because of lacking money, lacking power, lacking this, lacking that, social status, dynamic powers, and many other factors that the Al-Azhar does not possess. That's why the viewpoint or the perspective on getting into the meaning of the Holy Quran in other languages is not has not seen the light yet, although it was in the early 20th century. Their suggestion was very simple: just come up with a brief, precise, and concise tafsir or interpretation of the Quran and do a translation of that interpretation of tafsir of the Quran, but not the Quran itself, which is very acceptable. I mean, from every single point, if you want to look at. So let's have a quick look over this result of this case study, and the or some examples. For example, here the third verse, which is a controversial or sensitive verse in the Noble Quran. So the translation variants include different ways of translation depending on the ideology of the translator. So, for example, one of the variant is "kill the polytheists." In the other translation, "fight the idolaters." And in the third is "those who fight you." So we can see now 3 different interpretations of the same text in the source. All right, this is one example. Why is it so? It is because of the translator's worldviews, affiliations, and intended audience. Also, another example here is the gendered reference, and this is quite interesting. You know, even for the Almighty Allah or God, quote unquote, God, in some of the translations they use he/she, and this is to account for the modern eras and post 9/11 and some political and geopolitical and socio-political issues. So we cannot see the translation that is neutral of these religious texts, including Quranic translation, which is by right should not be called translations at all. And yes, but unfortunately, what we see is an attempt of translation. These are all attempts of translation. But okay, it comes with all these consequences. So the outcomes or the translations that we have are actually results of those discursive practices and social practices, are results of certain ideologies, sectarian ideologies, gender ideologies, social ideologies, preserving or keeping stability of the society, or maybe controlling certain societies. So we see one or certain translations of the Quran are prioritized and given all the interest and given all the money support, while other translations are just buried in the darkness. So why is it so? It is for those reasons, as we can see. I'm not giving answers, by the way. I'm just trying to open up our minds for questioning rather than asking questions about these translations of the religious text. So just to conclude, I'm sorry I kept you for long. So to conclude, these are a few recommendations. When we look at religious texts, we have to recognize that these religious text translations are ideological practices. Number 2, I would highly recommend students and lecturers, researchers alike to apply CDA in religious translation research as a robust framework that can reveal many interesting findings. And also, last but not least, this is my take on the issue is that we have to situate translation within the socio-political context all the time. A last word, final word, translating religious text is not merely rendering words from one language to another. It is reauthoring meaning. And please pay attention to this. It is reauthoring meaning. Okay. With that, I end my session for today. Thank you very much. If you have any question, you are most welcome. Thank you.
Terima kasih, Dr. Alsaga, for that insightful discussion on the translation of religious texts. We now open the floor once again for questions and discussions. If you have any queries, please drop the Zoom chat or use the raise hand feature to be recognized. For our first question, sir, from Mr. Chris Ganato. Can a religious translation of religious texts maintain the level of sacredness as the original, even with ideological frameworks of religious institutions? I would also like to know your opinion if there should be a standardized approach to translating religious texts, or is there room for diverse interpretations in diverse languages?
Well, thank you very much for such a rich question. These are the types of questions that we need to hear. All right. So for the first part of your question, I would definitely, based on my humble experience, although it extends for over 2 decades, but I would say definitely there's no possibility to preserve the sacredness of the holy books, whatever religion you have. And to our surprise, why for certain religions there are strong or immense attempts to translate, while for other religions, they don't allow for translation. Look at the Chinese religions. They don't allow for translation. They have this sacredness. They preserve the religion in their own language. Why we have to translate our sacred books into other languages? This is not possible, but okay, now there will be this, we will come back to the debate. So what is your solution? Now, I'm not an Arab, I don't speak Arabic, so how do I know about your religious books? Okay, how was it spread in the early days, in the early years? How did it reach to you? They were not obliged to translate the Quran, but they were transferring the meanings and the values and the instructions in your language, and that's okay. Look at us. We have millions and billions of Muslims nowadays. It's not as a result of the translation of the Noble Quran. No, it's as a result of the efforts made by the early Muslims who translated and interpreted the doctrine and the sorry, I shouldn't have used the word doctrine. They translating the Islamic traditions and the Islamic I would say instructions and so on. So this is the first part. There's no way that we preserve the sacredness of a religious text by translation, especially holy books. I'm talking about holy books that we believe they come from God, from Allah, Almighty God. All right. And this is also another point of debate where mostly is seen that the meaning of the original holy books is being deviated as a result of translation. It's not by if you cannot change the meaning of the original text, but with translation, through translation, you can bypass, you can, yes, you can let some ideologies or some visions or perspective of God himself even to be instilled within the translation, but you cannot do that within the original text. So this is the first part. As for the second part, is there any standardized methods or approach to maintain the sacredness of the translation? I would say, okay, partially this second part is already answered in the first part. So if we say there is no possible way to keep or to preserve the sacredness of the holy books or religious books through translation, then we shouldn't be talking about standardizing a way of translation. There will never be trust me, they will never be. Because within every religion, there are sectarians, there are different opinions, there are different ideologies. So each party will preserve their own. They will never allow. And you can see this in many examples in the New Testament, the Old Testament, even in Islam. We have this certain translations are given like as if they are the super duper translation, but they are just reflecting the ideology of certain school of thoughts. I hope I answered your questions, and please bear with me because I'm so passionate about this topic. So please bear with me if I lose my control.
Thank you, sir, for that insightful answer. So we can still cater questions from our participants. So you can just drop in our Zoom chat, or you can use the raise hand feature to be recognized. So we have here another question from Mr. Kaknyo. Should religious translations be revised periodically to reflect contemporary linguistic and cultural shifts, especially when different epochs constitute different ways of having defined their reality, or thus this risk altering the original theological intent? To what extent should translation committees balance faithfulness to the source text with accessibility for readers?
Okay, another good question. This also again brings us to the debate again, whether we can or we cannot linguistically in the first place and from the religious point of view. So if you consider both points, it's not possible. It is untranslatable. So the idea of revising is highly recommended periodically. It depends. But the point is here for the people who are, okay, please bear with me. The problem is that those who do not speak Arabic, the main source of understanding the Quran is through translation. And this is a big problem. So if you take ideas like jihad, for example, and those big and sensitive issues, right? So the translation may really relate negative interpretation of these ideas. So what I'm trying to say here is translating or dealing with religious text translation is not like dealing with other written text, because this requires people who are specialized in these religious texts, because they are the best people to know it. So you cannot simply come as a translator and say, because I have the linguistic ability, I have the knowledge of the cultures of the two languages, I have this, I'm very well qualified, I'm certified translator, so I have the right to do a translation. I disagree, because if someone, let's say, now we are talking about translation, if a religious person comes and talks about what we are doing, about our strategies in translation, he or she does not have the right to interfere. So we have to respect specialization. People in this area say, okay, it is untranslatable because of the sacredness, because of the values, because of this, because of that. So we have to respect. And trust me, this is just based on humble experience. I know, and I assure you, if you do it yourself, you will discover the same thing, because it is logic. 1 + 1 = 2. We have one source and we have hundreds of different versions, and each different version has its own interpretation and understanding. So this understanding, when you read it, as your question is about the audience, all right, the audience will certainly be affected by the book they read, by the version of translation they read. So this will definitely influence their perception. And I think this is my answer in short. I think I took a lot of your time today. I'm so sorry. Apologies again.
Thank you, Sir Alsaga, for that very informative explanation. Now we have another question here in our chat box. So from our participant, do you think translating religious texts changes the main meaning?
Okay, all right. This is different. This is a different context. If we talk about the meaning, this is good. So here we're not talking about the transferring of meaning from one language to another. We are talking about the main meaning, the main message converted from one language into another. This can be done through interpretation and not translation. So we can have like on the margins of the holy text or holy book, whatever, we can have interpretation of that in whatever language, but we can never say. Now, the problem is if you take any translation of any religious text, you will see there is a text in the target language surrounded by explanation around the margin. So what is this? What is the value of the interpretation surrounding the text? If you have or you already have the text, so the text is a translation, it's not an interpretation. This is our main concern. But when we shouldn't limit the term religious text to only the holy books, because there are other religious texts. For example, in Islam, we have the hadith, the traditions. We should not treat the way of translating hadith the way we treat the translation of the Quran. That's not the case. That shouldn't be the case, because the level of sacredness of the Quran can never be compared or matched to the sacredness of the traditions and hadith. Never. So in this case, yes, we can be more flexible for the translation, but we are talking about the words of Allah, the words of God. So this is a very sensitive thing. We cannot just simply call it translation. Of course, there will be a loss in the translation, in the process of the translation, and we can see the loss of the process of translation in the outcome. So when the outcome is as much discrepancy between those different translations, this tells us a lot. I know this is going to bring me a lot of debate, and many would disagree with me, but I'm just sharing my experience with you, and I'm opening the floor for questioning and not asking. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Alsaga, for that insightful answer. For now, for our last question this morning, we have from Ma'am Day Amar. So, if religious translation serves for a certain purpose, since there is power ideology in CDA, have you encountered this in analyzing religious texts based on your experience?
Oh, yeah, this is a very good question. Yes, of course, there are so many. But I don't think this is the right time and place to share these ideas. They have their own platforms. This is just to, as I said, this is just a session to share with you what I have experienced and how we must look at those religious, so-called religious translated text. All right. But of course, there are so many, man, so many. You can select any so-called translation of the Quran, because this is what I do, and just try to compare it with another translation, and you can see. But you have to do a CDA, proper CDA, like you have to look at the discursive practices. That is first and foremost. You have to do the discursive practices question. That means you have to question who did it, when, why, what purpose they serve, what was the socio-political condition, why this particular translation was supported and other translations were neglected. So you can see, it's just like when politicians use religion to support their regime, it's just the same. So it's another tool for them. That is the religious translation. The translation of religious text is just another tool for them to stabilize the regime.
Thank you, Dr. Alsaga, for that very informative explanation. So we love seeing so many insightful and thought-provoking questions from all of you. Your curiosity and engagement really make this discussion even more meaningful. However, due to time constraints, we will only be able to cater last question from Sir Sajad Mamalampay. Sir, you can open your microphone and camera, sir.
Am I audible po?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
So, I have a question, sir. So, this pertains to how do you navigate the tension between fidelity to the original text and cultural sensitivity, particularly when the original text may contain language or concepts that are problematic or offensive to modern audience. So, how do you navigate that, sir? Do you have any strategies or specific tips on how do we convey particular language to suit somehow our more modern audiences?
All right, thank you very much, Sir Sajid. I got your point. A very brilliant question. But the point here is that when we handle those religious texts just like other texts, this is the problem. So we can agree on several mechanisms as to how to approach those discrepancies and deviations and any other issue when we consider normal or manly produced texts. But we are talking about divinely produced texts. So this should not be treated as the same. If you notice, I just made a distinction between the translation of the Quran in Islam and the translation of the Hadith or the traditions of Prophet Muhammad. So it is so agreeable among people of religious people, so-called religious people, or ulama, all right, that there is no comparison. There's no way to compare the Noble Quran to the Hadith. All right, and there are different layers when we talk about Hadith. So there is Sahih, there is I don't know. There are other layers for that one, but the Quran is only one. All right, and it's all coming from the same source. So we should not treat these religious texts as we deal with other types of texts when it comes to translation and when it comes to investigate or navigate through these fidelities of the process of translation. This is very important, very crucial. I'm not here going to give any strategies or steps or particular, let's say, methodology into the type of investigation, because it depends on what kind of question you are raising, or in a better way, how you want to question the so-called religious text in translation.
Thank you, Dr. Al-Saga, for that insightful answer. And with that, we officially conclude our open forum session. Once again, a heartfelt thank you to Dr. Al-Saga for sharing his invaluable knowledge, and to all of you for your active participation. Your enthusiasm and engagement truly made this session a success. Let's give Dr. Al-Saga and ourselves a virtual round of applause. Feel free to drop a clapping reaction in the chat box. So we look forward to more insightful discussions ahead. So as a token of our appreciation, we would like to present a certificate of recognition with the same citation to Associate Professor Dr. Muhammad Al-Sagaf for his invaluable contribution to this lecture series. Dr. Al-Sagaf, we truly appreciate your time and expertise. To officially commemorate this moment, we will now have a photo opportunity. We kindly ask Dr. Al-Sagaf and all participants to turn on their cameras and flash their best smiles. Our technical team will take the screenshots in 3, 2, 1. All right, once again, thank you, sir, for being with us today. Let us give him a virtual round of applause.
Thank you very much. Thank you, really.
As we come to the final part of our program, let us take a moment to reflect on today's insightful discussions. To deliver a brief synthesis of our key takeaways, let us welcome Ms. Ashley Jane Into, an AB English language student.
So, to our speakers, participants, and hosts, good morning. We've truly gained valuable insights from Dr. Muhammad H. Al-Akkad on the translation of legal texts, and also Assistant Professor Dr. Muhammad Al-Sagaf on the translation of religious texts. Now, to synthesize their discussions, Dr. Al-Akkad emphasized that legal translation is highly complex, where even minor errors can have serious legal consequences. Its key characteristics include accuracy, precision, formal structure, faithfulness to the source text, and adherence to different legal systems. So one major challenge is the many Arabic legal terms that lack direct English or Tagalog equivalents, such as the talak or divorce and mahar or dowry, which do not fully align with Western legal concepts. And Dr. Al-Akkad highlighted that transliteration is often necessary to ensure the highest level of accuracy, as the translator bears full responsibility for any inaccuracies. Additionally, Dr. Alakad also discussed the features of legal text, such as the variations in legal system and cultural context, and the challenges such as linguistic differences and religious influences. Now, to address these complexities, he highlighted strategies including legal glossaries, using legal glossaries, understanding legal context, avoiding literal translation, particularly when necessary, and consulting experts when needed. Now, moving on in Dr. Al Sagaf's discussion on the translation of religious texts, he highlighted that translation is not a neutral process, but it is shaped by theological priorities and ideological frameworks. So, a case study presented on Quranic translation examined six ideologically sensitive verses across multiple English translations, demonstrating how linguistic choices embedded gender, politics, theology, and reform agendas. No? So, if translation is meant to be neutral, yet religious translation inherently involves ideological negotiation. This raises the question, where does translation truly stand? Now, Quranic translation in particular serves not only as a linguistic bridge, but also as a site of interpretation where meaning is shaped by translators' perspective and the religious institutions they represent. So, free from this synthesis, these lecturers have truly enlightened us. And as Dr. Jubilado reminded us earlier, to the participants, let us treasure the knowledge shared by these academic scholars. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Insa, for that excellent summary. Your statistics truly highlighted the valuable insights and the discussions we had today. Now, to formally conclude our event, let us hear the closing remarks from Miss Mia Viclivitos, President of the Language Student Society.
Good morning, everyone. As we come to the close of today's international lecture series, I would like to take this opportunity to extend our heartfelt gratitude to everyone who contributed to making this event a great success. First and foremost, thank you to Dr. Ronnie C. Jubilado for his warm and welcoming address. Your words really set a positive tone. Thank you also to Dr. and Dr. Aurelio Agkawili for your inspiring messages. They not only motivated us, but also reminded us that beyond just the knowledge we gain, it's the connections we make and the compassion we share that truly shape our academic journeys. A huge thank you to our esteemed international lecturers, Dr. Mohammed Alakad and Dr. Mohammed Al Sagaf. Your expertise in this field has given us so much to think about. And we feel fortunate to have been able to learn from you today. The insights you've shared opened our eyes to the new perspectives, and I'm sure everyone here is living with something valuable to think about. Of course, none of this would have been possible without the unwavering support of our program head, Associate Professor Sajid S. Ingilan. We sincerely give our thanks for his support and guidance throughout the planning and execution of this event. And a big thank you to Sir Francis N. Regino, the head of the Institute of Languages and Creative Arts, for his constant support and meticulous preparation for today's session. Your effort in organizing and preparing for today were absolutely crucial in making this event happen, sir. A heartfelt thank you to all the working committees whose tireless efforts behind the scenes ensure the smooth execution of this event. Lastly, to all participants in this event, a sincere thank you. Your presence, engagement, and willingness to dive into the discussions have truly brought this event to life. Indeed, this international lecture series on applied linguistics has been a wonderful opportunity to learn from each other, exchange ideas, and grow together as a global academic community. I truly hope you all leave today feeling inspired and ready to take this new perspective into your own studies and future work. Thank you once again to everyone who participated, and I wish you all had a great day ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Livitas, for your thoughtful closing message and for your leadership in fostering meaningful academic discussions among students and scholars. And that concludes the third Ilmu International Lecture Series in Applied Linguistics. Today, we had the privilege in exploring the complexities of translation studies, particularly in the areas of legal and religious texts. Our esteemed speakers have provided us with invaluable insights, deepening our appreciation of how language shapes meaning across different contexts. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to our distinguished speakers, Dr. Mohammed H. Alakad, who enlightened us in the translation of legal texts, and Dr. Muhammad Al Sagaf, who shared his expertise on translation of religious texts. Your knowledge and insights have truly enriched our discussions today. To all our participants and guests, especially to the supported Vice President for Academic Affairs, Professor Dr. Jennifer Nueva, thank you for your time, engagement, and thought provoking contributions. Your enthusiasm made this event a success. Of course, this event would have been possible without the dedication of our hardworking organizing committee with the guidance of Sir Isko and Sir Sajid. A big round of applause to Michael, Jake, Henley, Amor, Seb, David, Vaughn, Althea, Sarah, and Jam for making this event run seamlessly behind the scenes. Before we officially close, we are thrilled to announce that the fourth Ilmo International Lecture Series in Applied Linguistics will take place on April 25, 2025. Mark your calendars as we prepare another insightful gathering with more distinguished speakers and engaging discussions. We hope to see you all again next year. On behalf of the organizing committee, thank you once again for being part of this meaningful discourse. Until next time, stay inspired, keep learning, and see you at the 4th Ilmo International Lecture Series on April 25, 2025. But before we officially end, we kindly remind all participants that the evaluation form is now posted on the screen and in the chat box. Please take a moment to fill it out as completing the form is required to receive your certificate. And to finally end our event on a solemn note, let us seek divine guidance through a closing prayer to be given to us by Mr. Brent Lloyd Lekayan, an MA Applied Linguistics student.
Watang fasang mulang gedeun Nabek kemdek kai fu semenjak genda fu Selamat na bain ketobongan ku Bakning ketila bogo Testifun malak Yung kili udal udin Bap data Aliuni klafu seni Kung kadek alas no lam handa mo hasa mo ani glumang na bangin kung knagi kam udil alas mamungku ang kadek na mo mani ni talak anak ni ninggal na mit hiu kahyu kun tumu sa twali yo Da kung kuwang nawa laon mas pili
Once again, daghan kaayong salamat sa inyong tanan. Again, we kindly remind all participants the evaluation form is now posted on the screen and in the chat box. Please take a moment to fill it out as completing the form is required to receive your certificate. Until we meet again in our future sessions, stay inspired and keep exploring the world of linguistics. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Sing it, 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 sing it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Ani ata karon nagkayusag, nagkatigom. Unta inyong pagadungon ang tingog sa paglaom. Nagkadaiyang mga timog ato ang ipalalog. Duyog sa agong ug kulintang magsadya kitang tanan. Sing it, 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 isingit ang kalipay, isingit ang gibati, padayon sa kadasig, sa atong kinabuhi, isingit ang kalipay, isingit ang gibati, padayon sa kadasig, sa atong kinabuhi. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Ihong sa bata, ato'y tayaw. Buhay sa kudyapin, lugubong kalina, sa atong paglabuhi.
Damag malaumon sa pakibisog dili magpadaog. Pangandong na magmanong pusong pagkigiusa kita magapadayon sama sa tunadunggan sa ako. Sing it, 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 sing it ang kalipay, sing it ang gabati, padayon sa kadasi, sa akong kinabuhi, isingit ang kalipay, isingit ang gabati, padayon sa kadasi, sa atong kinabuhi, isingit ang kalipay, isingit ang gabati, padayon sa kadasi, sa atong kinabuhi, isingit ang kalipay, isingit ang gabati, padayon sa kadasi, sa atong kinabuhi. Managlahi man ang atong tribu, usar gihapon ang atong timu, ug nagkayusa sa paglawom. Managlahi man ang atong tribu, usar gihapon ang atong timu, ug nagkayusa sa paglawom. ang ibati, padayon sa kadasig, sa atong kinabuhi, isinggit ang kalipay, isinggit ang ibati, padayon sa kadasig, sa atong kinabuhi, isinggit ang kalipay, isinggit ang ibati, padayon sa kadasig, sa atong kinabuhi, isinggit ang kalipay, isinggit ang ibati, padayon sa kadasig, sa atong kinabuhi. Hey, yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, yeah, yeah, yeah. Sing it, sing it, sing it, sing it, sing it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.